This week on the Digital Marketing Scoop, we're talking about how to nail a product launch. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Digital Marketing Scoop. So this week we're talking about launching a product.
Yep.
So I suppose we'll dive straight into it. The first thing that is really important is obviously understanding the problems that your product is going to solve.
Yeah.
And the value that you're going to provide, basically.
Yeah.
So it's to kind of look at your customer and write down, the pain points of your customer, the value that you're going to bring them.
Yeah. I would not be afraid of getting literally getting a big A3 sheet out and going old school, brainstorm down all the pain points and exactly what your product does to mitigate that problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, people buy things that are going to provide them value or solve a problem for them.
Exactly, yeah. And then it's very easy to match you have straight away what your message is going to be very quickly from that. So people have this problem, my product does this for them. So my message to them is do X because what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I suppose once you know the value that you're going to provide and the problems that you're going to solve and the pain points that your potential customers are going to have, it's to kind of create that persona of your customer. What does your ideal customer, what do they look like?
Yeah.
What age are they? What demographics do they fit in? What's their background? The goals they have, the challenges, and the solutions they need. It's basically to be able to say, okay, this person A, and here's exactly the fit for our perfect customer.
I remember doing a workshop a few years ago and on buyer personas, and the person literally, the trainer gave us a cutout of a person and it was like literally name this person. I was like, okay, Sandra. And you literally, but that buyer persona is like not just perfect for your own kind of, just a step in the process of kind of figuring out who is your perfect customer or who are your customers. I think buyer personas are great as well to hold on to them until the end of the process as well. They're brilliant for when you're going through building your audiences.
Yeah.
So when you
targeting, like
exactly. So you can start really putting in your demographics as well as your psychographics, and just kind of, it's great for audience building. I'd always refer back to my buyer persona, building an audience.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I suppose, look, you've kind of gone through your pain points, solutions you provide. You've got your buyer persona. The next thing to look at, I suppose, is what is the journey that they're going to take, from whether it's an online journey or an offline journey, whatever it is that's going to take them from where they are now to being your customer. Yeah,
I would, this is actually going to turn into a bit of a matrix, really. It's going to be, what I would usually do is either use an Excel sheet or again, get out I'm a big fan of the big A3 sheets, but literally you're just writing down, if someone saw a Facebook ad, they'd end up here, 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 here. If they saw Instagram, if they came through Google, if they search this term, what ranks first? And you could end up with 30, 50 odd starting points, and people often
need a lot of A3 sheets.
Yeah. People really, I think a big mistake people do is always start their buyer journey as if someone magically landed on the homepage.
Yeah.
Which is probably rarer than all of the other kind of aspects, and just go, right, if I started here, what would confuse me going from A, B, C, D? Because people probably are going to have 4 steps. They're probably going to have to click here, try now, fill in a form, or buy. There's going to be at minimum probably 3 or 4 steps. Yeah,
and especially if they're not coming through an ad, you don't necessarily have control over how they're finding you.
Exactly.
So they could end up on a random blog post or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So that customer journey is, it's extremely important.
Yeah.
And that comes back to having, I know you're saying, map it out and by hand on paper, but it obviously also comes down to your Google Analytics and making sure you're able to see that journey then once you've planned it out.
Yeah, definitely.
So then I suppose the next step is the marketing strategy.
Yeah, so any strategy I've ever done, I always build it around the SOSTAC model. So you'd start with your situational analysis, and that's just kind of asking the question of where are we now and what kind of avenues have we got. So for us, where are we now would be, okay, we're just about to launch this new product. We want this from it. And we have our website and all these social media channels, just kind of acknowledging where you are. And then the next step would be for you to kind of outline your different objectives. So that's taking you from where you now to where do you want to be. And then you're going to build a strategy around that. So your strategy then is, how do you get there? So you're going, right, we could use all these different platforms to do it. We could use advertising. We could use X, Y, and Z. And then from that strategy, that's where your tactics come in then. And that would be, we need to set up the pixels. We need to start tracking. What are the different, ways we're going to do our messaging and stuff, all the different kind of ways that you're going to go, right, this is how we're going to stand out from the competitors and get our message across. And then your action is just how you're going to implement it. So that would be kind of your budget, where it's being rolled out, what kind of ongoing process, who's going to be involved and why. And then control is just going to be how you're going to monitor the performance. So nailing down your KPIs, going, right, the budget is this much, we want a return of this much, and just kind of how you monitor and adapt going forward. And I think if you can answer all of those questions, even if you just have short answers in maybe 1 or 2 A4 sheets, you really have a really strong structure around what you're about to do.
Yeah, you're on the right path.
Yeah.
So you mentioned budget there. There's probably a step on its own.
Yeah.
You have your marketing budget for the product launch. It's organizing, okay, how much goes to Google ads, how much goes to Facebook ads, how much goes to maybe different offline channels. So it's that, especially I think at the start, that can actually be more difficult. So you don't necessarily have conversion data for the product. So one thing you can do is to do a soft launch and start with a smaller budget and start testing little segments and little audiences and see what's working best before you push the big marketing budget in, we'll say.
Definitely, yeah. So you could always do, I like to kind of think of it as like the first 3 months in my head will always be kind of brand awareness, or heavily more brand awareness. So you're kind of going, right, first month anyway is definitely going to be awareness. Now you're still probably going to get a few conversions from awareness, but that's your goal in month 1, 2, and 3 shouldn't be to make a return on your ad spend. It should be focusing around just people knowing.
I have clients who would definitely disagree.
Yeah. I know many people who would, but I think if you're thinking long term, like you're going to be marketing this product for the next 2 years, having a good nail down and people knowing what you're doing is probably good.
It is, of course it is.
But you can balance it. I mean, into month 2 and 3, then, I mean, your awareness has built your audience for remarketing, and you can start filtering some of the budget into it very quickly to make up the lost ground. But I think, it's people underestimate the budget and brand awareness.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
If you're purely focused just on the return on ad spend, okay, I spent this much, it delivered this much revenue. One interesting thing is, in terms of, if you're using display ads and Facebook ads and you're not seeing the return on them, that if you do switch those off, then you say, okay, we're not getting a return. You might actually find then the return from your Google ads goes down because more people don't know the brand name. They're not more aware of the product.
Yeah.
So look, we've talked about the virtues of having a strong brand here many times. It is hugely important.
Yeah.
So okay, the last step we have kind of then is a checklist. So that covers a lot of things. We're going to be looking at your tracking. So all your pixels, your Google Analytics. In terms of SEO, you're going to look at Search Console. On the creative side, then you're going to have video content, written content, image content. You want to be able to keep track. Okay, what's working best? What are people engaging with the most? What's driving conversions? Setting up all your advertising across all the different channels. And again, as we say, it definitely, in terms of the brand, it is harder to measure the results from that, but it is just massively important. Split testing, go on about that constantly, is hugely important. I mean, especially if it's a new product. If you have a sales page for that product, chances are you're not going to know straight away which content, which imagery, which video on that product page is going to work best. So having in your checklist that you're running split tests on that new product page, hugely important. And then in terms of your SEO, you know, if you're running Google Ads, you're going to know, you know, potentially which keywords are generating the results for the new product.
Yeah.
So then putting kind of a strategy together around, okay, we know these keywords work well. Let's look at those for an SEO campaign.
Yeah, definitely. And that is it's squashed down for this podcast, all right. But for everything, every strategy I've done right through, you know, for my thesis, everything that is step by step exactly what has been rolled out, and it works, and it has. And the other thing as well, especially with like the checking the boxes and just the control and every side of it, is that you always have room to go, this box isn't working, how do we adjust that and roll it back out again. So it's all about just having all your pieces of the puzzle together, so you can always go, this piece isn't fitting anymore, what can we do to replace just that bit, so that you're not going, oh God, it's all not working. We have to start again with a new strategy. So it's just, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, but having a checklist like that is so important, especially in the product launch, you know, this can get missed. There can be so much happening. So to know, you know, every part of the puzzle, every ad that's going on, just having a simple checklist to go through during the rollout of a new product is very important. Sure,
we even have it on the big board in our office. This exact checklist. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Digital Marketing Scoop.